Did you listen to our Power Rangers episode and squeal with excitement over all the fun facts and memories Carlos shared?
Did you want to hear even more history, trivia, and personal connections related to those brightly colored teen warriors from the 90s?
If you answered yes to those questions, you might be a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger superfan. And so is our special guest today. And no, it is not Carlos again.
Yes.
But don't worry, he will be back for another segment soon. Hi, everyone. I am Danny.
And I am Katie. You're listening to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast where we remember, revisit, and most of the time, relearn all kinds of things from our 80s childhoods and 90s teen young adulthoods. Before we introduce that special superfan guest, we do have to do a few circle backs or shout outs,
Yes.
which we lovingly sometimes call corrections with Carlos.
We have no corrections from Carlos this week.
Okay.
What?
Segments out.
So get ready, Alexey, because he's going to come for you next. All right. So first, circle back before we intro our lovely guest. Okay. So me and my youngest were watching the OG Legally Blonde movie the other night, Katie. You're going to like this one.
Okay.
And so the Chihuahua that played Bruiser, okay, that doggy's name was Mooney.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene where the doggy's watching TV and the Yo Quiero Taco Bell dog comes on that we've talked about, okay? Those two dogs, that was Gidget, who we talked about in our Cats and Dogs episode.
Yes.
They were roommates when they filmed that. Please don't ask me why. I went on this like super weird tangent.
When they filmed what?
When they filmed Legally Blonde, those doggies were roommates, which is funny because Gidget ended up playing Mooney's mom in Legally Blonde too.
So the Taco Bell commercial was a fake Taco Bell commercial film for the movie?
No, it was a real Taco Bell commercial.
Oh,
like it was.
So why was Gidget there to be a roomie?
No, I'm saying they lived together in real life.
Oh, why was Gidget on set? So they have the same owners? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if they had the same owners, but they they were like show dogs, so I don't know. But they were roommates, and there's like, sorry everyone, that was a weird. Let's circle back to ourselves now.
Okay, so they knew each other during the filming.
They were roommates.
They were buds
in real life.
Okay.
In the scene, we're gonna try this again.
Okay.
In the scene in the movie, Bruiser, character's name, real life name Mooney, is watching real life commercial Taco Bell.
Got it.
Who is real life named Gidget.
Yes.
But I forgot the name of the taco. Oh, did you know the Taco Bell dog's name was Nacho in the commercials?
Maybe. It rings a bell.
I don't think we said that in our Cats and Dogs.
I don't think we did.
All right. Well, this was the longest circle back ever about Chihuahuas.
Okay, so that's very cute, and we love us some two Chihuahua situations, especially in the room today. So
yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Okay, so another one was our friend and listener, Jen, but not Jennifer. Her name is Genevieve. Okay.
Yes. Different
she
Jen.
told me a really interesting Furby fact after she listened to our episode with Patrick and Dina. When Furbies came out in the late 90s, they were not allowed on Air Force bases. So Jen's family was a military family. Yeah, you couldn't have them on because of like the recording and the AI stuff because Furbies learned and would talk. So I guess they were like nervous about government secrets and all the things.
I mean, it makes sense.
So all the poor little Air Force kids got no Furbies for Christmas.
That's so funny.
So those are my only two. Okay. So do you have any?
Just to circle back to our last episode, shout out to Patrick and Dina.
Yay.
And all that stuff. And sound was again a little funky, but this was more like human error last time. But we did have someone that we found on Fiverr. His name's Spiros. And he has helped us restore some audio from that one and the other one before it. Oh, Summertime Memories.
Yeah.
So those should be in your feed now. So
Yay.
if you've already listened and want to listen again, go ahead. If you are a new listener and haven't listened yet, you won't know the difference, I guess, because they're fixed.
Yeah, so we apologize for that. That was totally our bad. That sound issue was our fault. 100%.
Yes. But because of that, our guest today has been thoroughly briefed on what we need to happen so that doesn't happen today when everyone's here.
So that brings us perfectly.
I guess we should get to that. Yeah, exactly. We're going to introduce our amazing superfan guest today, Alexey del Castillo.
Yes.
Hey. Hello.
so good to have you. I'm going to tell our listeners a little more about you, and then you can tell us in your own words about yourself. Alexey Vladimir del Castillo is a New York-trained film actor who loves board games and coffee. You can see him riding in Johnny's Uber on an episode of Cobra Kai or burning cookies in a Publix commercial. That's the one. This fall, he will appear in the new series, These Stones. These Stones. Okay. For some reason, I thought it was supposed to say 3 stones. Let me try that again. This fall, and that's the fall of 2024, depending when you're listening to this, he will appear in the new series, These Stones, as Samuel from the Bible. As a Power Ranger fan, he's delighted to be here on Generation In Between. Welcome.
Hello. Yes. Super excited.
Yay.
I was like, why was I not in the first episode?
I know.
I'm not mad. I'm just hurt.
I know. So y'all may remember we did talk about Alexey on the Power Rangers episode. Carlos even admitted, he said Alexey is a bigger super fan than him. So we had to do a part 2 to bring him on, and they're in town for the weekend, so it was perfect because we were trying to figure out how we could do it on Zoom, but it's always so much more fun to have people face to face.
So much.
So today we're gonna talk even more about Power Rangers, which means Danny and Katie are gonna learn more because we know zero except what Carlos told us.
I say now we know a little.
We do
because of Carlos.
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
So you said you have your own circle backs for us before we even get going into the meat, and I love that.
Yes. Okay, so I have to circle back because Carlos did a magnificent job. Sorry.
There you go.
I did the thing. I literally did the thing. I was just making sure you guys caught it.
There you go.
I do have a circle back, and it's because Carlos did a magnificent job. I cannot even fault anything he said. So, and I'm like, you better, Primo. You better. I told him you better represent. Don't mess this up. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to.
Costume.
Oh, it was so cool. I was so mad. I was like, I don't even have a suit. How dare you? And he looks so good in it.
So
I'm like, how dare you?
It was almost unfair because Katie and I weren't really prepared to take pictures. So we took a picture of them. We're like, we did a full body, and we're like, and you're just going to be by yourself because we were like,
then we'll just do a quick selfie where we can see the helmet.
Let you have all that.
You did the millennial Facebook. You're like, I don't like that angle.
Oh,
I'll not be in it. It's okay.
When you're of an age.
Well, last week's episode with Patrick and Dina, we took a picture of me with a Blockbuster card, and that photo will never see the light of day.
What happened to it? I was like, where did that picture go?
I sent it just to you later. But first of all, Danny's smaller than me, so you took it at this angle.
I know.
So I'm like,
I knew when I took it that was a bad idea.
And it's aiming up from my torso up and my chins. I look super happy. But I was
and my chin.
So
I'm sorry.
bad.
I apologize. I should know better.
To release it as a patron special picture.
We don't need to do this. We have so many pictures where we're like, oh shit, that's bad. We're not doing that.
I love how you're risk it for the patrons. You're like, we don't need to.
No.
There's a limit. Let's not.
No.
I just want to, as you took it, were you like, this is a bad idea, but we're not going to say anything.
I think it's true. All right. Anyway.
Anywho, so circle backs. Yes. Circle back. So I wanted to touch base on Thuy Trang, the Yellow Ranger, because that's really, really important. She was so everybody who interviews about her, you can look at those interviews and they look back and they're like, yeah, she was on the move. She was going to be. Because what's really cool about Rangers is there's certain actors in it that you're like, yes, you're doing the campy script, but I can see why you went somewhere else more successfully afterwards. I can see that even though it's campy, there's just a handful of Rangers, and she was the first where you're like, this isn't going to be it for you. And then what happened, and we lost her, and it was heartbreaking. And she actually was Vietnamese and almost died on the boat over here.
Yeah, we did a talk about that.
Yeah.
Amanda sent me, Amanda, Alexey's partner, who y'all heard on our Diana episode. She's here right now.
I guess we should have made that connection.
She's quietly observing, as well as our friend Bobby. So he's there. We have an audience today. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we did a circle back because Amanda sent me the interview, and she had a harrowing story. We didn't go into super detail about it, but yeah, it was really heartbreaking to hear.
She's so inspiring. That's what's inspiring about it. Somebody that just had everything against them still figure out a way to win.
Right?
It's really beautiful. And she's a beautiful person through it all. So it's just heartbreaking to be like, oh, okay. We lost somebody great.
For the listeners who are just here for the Power Rangers, summarize that story about her trip over from Vietnam.
So Thuy Trang, as I believe like a baby, they were like fleeing Vietnam over to here, and they thought she was dead on the boat. They thought that she wasn't breathing anymore, and they were gonna They were gonna throw her overboard. Yeah, they were like, not enough, just we have to and her parents were like, no. Like, which shows the strength of which shows the strength of her mother. Like don't mess with a mama bear. Like that's just like something you learn. And then no, she was alive and thrived, and through all of that was able to become something that will be remembered forever. I mean, to this day, like we just lost Jason David Frank very, very recently, and broke my heart. I'm not trying to tear up, but I might. He was my favorite, so we'll get into that. But like Rangers to this day make like little comic books or memes or honoring these people because they're so important to us. Like they matter. That's what I love about this podcast, that it's all the things that matter to you that people think don't, but that shape you up to like, it's so.
That's why it's fun for us to have, like when we talk about things, if we like to have super fans on, because like we talked about this last night at my house where we were like to see people light up about something because Katie and I can research things. We do all the time, but when somebody comes in, like today, you're so excited and Carlos was excited. My husband was excited to talk about Nintendo. Katie's husband's going to come on and talk about New Wave. So that's going to be so fun. She's so excited. She doesn't like New Wave. So.
I don't dislike New Wave, but like if Depeche Mode is playing, I'm like, oh.
I'm not going to ruin that.
Depeche Mode is playing. Like my spirit leaves my body.
like I'll come back later.
I'm going to go to the Himalayas in my mind.
Oh yes, exactly. Well, and when Jen was on about Reba.
Oh yeah, Reba.
It's like
and Diana.
That, especially because people, and like when I talked about Britney Spears, being a Britney Spears fan, you go through a lot of like, from the lifetime that I've loved her, people being like, kind of almost cutting you down for liking things like that. Or maybe the Power Rangers or Reba McEntire or what Nintendo games when you're in your 40s. But like these things do matter.
They do.
Because they shape who we are, and the things that bring us joy matter.
Right. And that kind of we have sound effects from our audience members. I love this. I think that brings us right to what the first thing we wanted to ask you was, and I think we asked Carlos something similar, was what was your first memory of when you became a Power Rangers fan?
Oh God. Okay, so what's really funny is Carlos's like flipping story.
Yes.
Everybody has a flipping story. Everybody. And they all ended poorly.
Yes.
TLDR. Moment that I was like, oh, I'm a Ranger. So like I remember I'm 3 years old because this is like when it came out for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. It's like, whatever. I'm like playing with toys and stuff. And then I just remember just like vegging out for 5 minutes, just watching all the cool suits and flips and explosions and the team. And it was around the time, like I had caught the show before Tommy was a thing, like when it was really starting.
Tommy was the red.
He's green.
Green.
He was
the cute.
Yeah. You're like he's the one with the ponytail that just knew.
The bad boy with a ponytail.
Every time, sir.
He was such a rebel, which is actually why he related to a lot of people.
Makes sense.
Like people didn't understand why he was so popular, but it's because like every color in Rangers means something. And usually like all the personalities were chosen for something. So for me, it was like I saw Jason and I was like, oh, I want to be like that guy. Like I want to lead from the front. I want to lead, I want to be that guy. I want to be a hero. Cause I was like, always like my grandfather was a soldier. So I was always like, oh, I really just want to be the man that, like you see in the movies, the guy that like jumps in front of the explosion. Like I was always a big deal. And that was Jason. But then Tommy came along and I was like, hi, who this? New suit, who this? Like, what? Does he have like, oh, he has a dagger and shields and he has a dragon and I'm a little boy, so I'm just like
fascinated.
That's a dragon. I'm sorry. T-Rex can just like step to the side. That's a dragon. But for me, the Rangers moment was like, I believe they were fighting Pumpkin Wrapper in the episode I was watching.
What? I'm Googling this right now.
Oh, yes. So the monsters in Power Rangers have the best names possible.
Like pumpkin, like a pumpkin.
Like a pumpkin. And he's actually like a rapper.
Like a rapper with an R?
Yep.
Oh, I want to be this for Halloween this year.
Right? Pumpkin Rapper. And you can't, like, it's so good.
I can't, Katie. It's happening. I'm doing this.
It's
Y'all heard it here first.
It's so good. It's so good.
So you remember that was like one of your early memories.
Yes, like
fighting this
there was
down pumpkin head
there was
guy.
Poluticorn.
What?
There was
Okay.
Pudgy Pig. Oh no, sorry, Pudgy Pig. Pudgy Pig was the first one. Pinoctopus. Nasty Night. Like
these are great.
Katie's
good. Like
honestly, they're great when you're like a teenager, but like as you get older, you think of those names, you're like, interesting.
I love that. Okay, so that was like your first memory. You saw them like fighting these crazy villains, and like you were just.
I was just like, this is so cool. The explosions and the Power Rangers can make topography explode. Like that's the thing. Grass explodes, and like it was such a theme of like. As I got older, I learned that it's a theme in Japan. Like going into the show, so this Power Rangers that we know here about the teenagers with attitude. In Japan was the season of Super Sentai that so Power Rangers, which is a really cool segue, has its basis in what's called tokusatsu. And tokusatsu is where pretty much everything started in like 1903 to 1933.
Okay.
It's called it's a live action show that relies heavily on effects. That's what tokusatsu usually means.
Okay, and that's in Japan.
Yes, and so it's an umbrella that spawned Super Sentai, which is a team of heroes that fight monsters and bad guys. That's what
Carlos touched on.
There's Kamen Rider, the lone hero who's the strongest, who does the thing. Spider-Man was actually a tokusatsu character at one point. Yeah, Japan loves Spider-Man so much they gave him a show, and he had his own Megazord at one point. It was it's really cool. So tokusatsu started all this. And then Saban sees the show, goes, oh, I really, really, Carlos touched on this. I really think this would be a hit. And it was. And Saban had access because we actually found out that he developed a lot of music for these kids shows, right? Like the Go-Go Gadget.
Oh yeah, Carlos did say that. He did. Yeah, he was like, he's like, y'all will love this piece of trivia, which we did because I love Inspector Gadget.
I do too.
And so that is super neat.
So because of that, he saw the show. And what's really funny is another circle back I had to touch base on is in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. What's really fun is you can see that they didn't get all the props for the show. So if we're shooting the American thing, if you're watching the Green Ranger, watch his shield. The golden thing on his chest, the shield, watch it. You can tell when it's American footage and Japanese footage simply because the location they're in, because the buildings are Japanese, but also watch it because in America, they couldn't get the shield. So it's this flimsy, like aluminum with like Velcro straps thing. Oh my God. And then when he's fighting, it's this like hard metal gold thing. And you're just like,
wait. So it's like DIY.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like cosplay. It's like a bad cosplay.
It's like his Wish version.
Yeah, exactly.
But it like travels through. So I was telling Danny that the theme for me for when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, it's generations. Like the theme of Power Rangers that is generations. It's cool because to this day, in almost every series, you can see that effect happen. You can be like, "Oh, that's really cool." The American, like you could tell that this is the American version of the costume they built, and then they cut to the footage, and it's like shadowed, and the metal is shiny. It's not like this matted thing anymore. You're like, the quality just jumped up. Why? Like, wow.
And of course, I mean that's why
exactly. But it's
look at you.
Yes.
Okay.
I love how you just called her. Yes. You go, girl. Yes.
Because as y'all know, listeners who've been here a while, if you don't know, and this is your first episode, Katie is not really into like toys and cartoons and such. So when
imagination,
Bobby's with you on this. Our friend Bobby's in here, and he's
Bobby.
Like, me too.
Thank you.
So when we talk about these things, I love watching her face. It's so much fun because it's like well, I'm learning a lot. I don't know a lot about Power Rangers, but it was just really cute because she was like, they morphed. Like, I did it. I learned it. I got it.
That's the right thing.
I love it. It's so good.
In it.
But
okay.
It's a little mini game that people play. They go like, that's Japanese footage. That is a very muscular man doing that flip for her.
Use Japanese footage even
yes.
today. Okay.
Yes, that is
talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
The thing I didn't study or the thing I didn't check in on was if the new Netflix series did it, but I think they did because there's some parts where the suit quality also changes. Like on screen, it'll be like one scene. We're gonna stop you. Cut to the scene of him doing the flip. That outfit looks really nice. That armor is not as flimsy. That sword looks a little bit better.
So I feel like with all the stuff in the franchise then, so do you, because I feel like today they could have the same quality if they wanted. Are they doing that on purpose because they're trying to kind of stick with like the vibe? Like at the beginning, they were just using the other footage and like cobbling together whatever they wanted. But now that this is like such an international sensation, don't you think they have the money to like match the costumes? Why aren't they doing it?
I'm gonna use the Danny's most hated capitalism. Only because the truth
somewhere. So
because the truth is that yes, we have enough money to film our own show, and Netflix did a really cool job. They did that. They did some custom stuff, and it was really good. That's why, honestly, I'm an MMPR fan. But
tell everybody what that is for people who don't know.
Oh, I'm a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan because that is my jam, and that's really great because, and we'll get back into Tokusatsu real quick. I have ADHD, everybody, so I will be jumping around.
That's kind of our vibe here.
I love it,
but it's the vibe of the show. Yes,
it's our vibe here.
The thing about it, it's like Doctor Who, right? I love Power Rangers because not every team is meant to be your team. You will have your team that you grew up with or that you fall in love with, that is your team. And that's okay because everybody can have their team and all the teams are different. And that's what Power Rangers is so great about, that we're all different. We all got our powers differently, but we're all here to do the right thing. So
too. And because his favorite, when we asked him, we'll get into your favorite Ranger soon, but like, when we asked him who his favorite Ranger was, that's what he said. And his was the space.
Well, the season was the space.
Oh, yes.
The space
Did
season.
I mess up? Or look, damn
it's
it.
a season.
Okay, Katie's correcting me now, Carlos.
Rangers, Pink Ranger.
I think she's just like, we ain't getting no more Carlos circle backs. Okay, I don't need to be called out anymore. Primo, get them all.
It's usually me the one who messes up anyway, so it's fine. But actually, while we're on Carlos, okay, so he gave us really great info. It was wonderful, but we can't cover everything in 1 hour, right? There's so much. So we could not wait to ask you this. And I know I'm like looking at Alexey's notes over there, and like I can't wait to hear what's in them. So what things did Carlos leave out that you think we all need to know about? Or what things did he mention that you want to like dig deeper with? So you did touch on some of it already a little. Yeah.
Carlos did an awesome job with MMPR. He did such a good job. I can't. That's why I love you. I love you, Primo. Like, because I can't. Because like he did such a good job. But the one thing I'll say that people need to know is like, so you guys asked a really important question. Why giant monsters? Why did they need a giant robot? Well, back to Tokusatsu in Japan. Japan has a very big, like, I love anime.
Yeah.
So very big in their tradition and lore and stuff. It's like mechas.
Yeah.
And kaiju. So the monsters are kaijus. They're like Godzilla. They're a big creature that comes in to destroy the thing. And the gimmick was always a mechanized army of heroes. And they always get a suit of armor and like they just fight. So it's like Gundam.
Okay.
One of the biggest animes is Gundam over there. Okay. And Gundam is phenomenal. But like mecha and mobile suits usually comes from what I know, from over there. And you get the best art and robots and designs and this, like, it was just so ingrained in like Pacific Rim, that movie that came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was mechas and kaijus fighting. Now they even called the creatures in that kaijus, the big monsters from the sea or from space. And so that basis permeates in Rangers even to over here. It's like, well, they have to have the big robot. It's just kind of like in all of Tokusatsu. Kamen Riders sometimes have it. Spider-Man had his own mech, like, so they're like, of course we have to bring it over. the heroes have to be able to stack up to the big monster somehow, you know. And Netflix, I think, did a great job because they kind of subverted that in this season. They're like, yeah, what happens if they don't have those? They're just as great if they work together. So it's really cool that they have these tools, but they don't always need them. And that's why some episodes don't always use them.
Interesting.
Okay.
But like those roots really dig deep. So like the original Sentai series wasn't about teenagers with attitude. It was about, I believe they were cryogenically frozen feudal Japanese lords. And I believe I believe in detail.
Oh, we did.
We didn't. Because
like,
so I'm trying to remember 100% accurately. It's the morning. Pardon me. I'm drinking my coffee. If I mess anything up, Carlos will get me. But
he's coming.
He's ready.
They were feudal lords. And I believe, and the Green Ranger was actually the eldest brother to the Red Ranger in that. And they were like, oh, he's going to help us. And then you find out the Green Ranger is like, nah. I'm good.
But then he becomes good, right? That's what we talked about.
So
he had like a 5-ep. I know we were going to watch this at my house last night and we didn't. Too many shenanigans happening. But so he had like the 5-episode arc, right? The Green. And
Tommy did, yes. And then
and Tommy's the Green.
Tommy's the green one in America, yes.
But you're talking about the Japanese.
I know. I know. Look at you today. Yeah. I'm done. I'm leaving.
So what's cool in Super Sentai is like if you watch the Green Ranger episodes. So Tommy's affliction comes because Rita goes like, "I'm going to light the black flame candle," and then like. I don't know, man. It's witchy stuff. Juju. Superpowers can't stand up to witchy stuff. I'm just saying, get yourself a candle and a Bible. You'll be all right, hopefully. So she lights this candle, which basically is like corruption. It is corrupting the green coin. That is what they stopped to save him. But what's really cool is in the Super Sentai series, they had to keep that footage, right? Because it's all they had. They're like, oh no. So in the Super Sentai series, the Green Ranger doesn't need that corruption to be evil because he's not evil. He just wants revenge for a very specific reason. So he's like, okay, I'll take revenge on all of you. But then sees the error of his ways and goes, I'll help you. And so instead, that candle, I believe, acted as a time limit. He'd be like, yeah, I can help you. And then I believe he died in his brother's arms. Because Japan doesn't shy away, and it never did, from more serious adult topics. But the reason Sentai is popular, but not like worldwide, like Power Rangers, is because Power Rangers does something that it doesn't. It bridges the generational gap in certain ways that the Green Ranger, the original Green Ranger, Jason David Frank, talked about. And in that series, he passes away, gives his brother the shield and the dagger, which is why Jason in the series eventually gets the shield and the dagger temporarily. Because like, we got this footage we got to use. Like, we got to use it. But what's awesome is what Carlos didn't touch on is when the fans freaked out and they were like, where's Tommy? Like,
he's
a little.
But what people don't know is that they didn't have to do extra footage for that or anything. That footage existed when he was helping them. You know, that into Super Sentai, that was great. But what didn't exist was the White Ranger. So the White Ranger is actually from the Super Sentai series Dai Ranger. I believe it's Dai Ranger, and it was the Kiba Ranger, played by a 9-year-old. So in that series, it was a 9-year-old who grew to be an adult to hide his identity. And then eventually, when they discovered who it was, he was just a 9-year-old in a super suit, just beating people up. And it was that footage that they were like, okay, we got to bring him back somehow. And Dai Ranger was its own separate series. So a lot of the time, these series crisscrossed, but also, if you notice, why is the White Ranger always kind of like going off on his own and like fighting by himself?
Because he had his own show?
No, because the footage that they used was from a different series, so they couldn't put them together. Like,
okay, I get it.
And so, like,
oh my gosh, I'm following now.
What's cool is they were like, we can keep him, but we have to use this. So you'll notice if you ever look at that Super Sentai series, they will never, and I don't, again, somebody that knows more than me, you'll figure this out, but I don't believe that they will ever use those costumes or that series footage ever because of them taking sections of it to put it into here.
Okay.
Yeah, like the talking sword that the White Ranger had, Tommy had a talking sword, and you're like, oh, that's cool. He didn't really talk to it much. It said things.
He had a talking sword?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not only did the Green Ranger have a flute that he could play through his helmet, the White Ranger had a talking sword that he could throw and it would fly and shoot laser beams on its own.
Why have I never watched the show? There's so many things that I love. Like the pumpkin rapper guy. Love that.
Playing a flute through a helmet.
I mean, I want a talking sword.
Yes.
I can't. Look, I love all these fun facts.
We're going to have to do another episode in a year, but the Superfan guest will be Danny.
I know.
Because she'll watch all.
She's going to watch all of this.
Katie, I brought some stuff with me today.
But
what are you holding right now? It's the Yellow Ranger helmet.
Oh my God.
But I promise, if you were to watch this show, there will be seasons you're like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But there will be one season, and you don't know what it's gonna be, but there's one season where you're like, oh, this is like my season.
Like dumb. Like sometimes, and I love campy. Like campy is my favorite thing of life. So, and I love any kind of weird costumes, obviously.
You're like, let me glam myself to perfection.
So those are, what else? What else did he leave out that you wanted to touch on before I ask you a very important question?
I believe I touched on the tokusatsu roots, all that stuff. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good. I hope I didn't mess anything up.
Okay, so this is the question I'm dying to know. Amanda has not told me. So Alexey's partner, Amanda's here, by the way. You're doing a really good job being quiet, by the way. It's she is also a Power Ranger super fan. In fact, she told me that you guys got together because of Power Rangers, and I need to know the story. Katie and I have to know. And the listeners too, Avi.
Yeah.
And Bobby.
Bobby just waves from the corner. I'm also here. Hello.
So I'll take you back to a time.
Oh, it's story time, kids.
We're ready.
It was 2020, as we all know.
Oh,
the dark ages of our time.
Yeah.
2020, I was in New York. I was still grinding and dreaming and hoping as the world slowly and bitterly broke your soul.
Yeah.
But I ended up in just a bad financial situation, and I had already struggled before that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I can't go back to that. My friends who loved me were like, you need to leave. Like, you need to go back with your mom. I know you hate it, but just like, do it. And I love my mom, but if you're like a kid and you know what living with your parents is like after you've been free for however many years, you're like,
yeah,
please.
Oh,
anything.
I've been there.
You feel like Jean Valjean. You're like, if I die. Like,
I think everybody in this room were like, oh yeah, we've all done that.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
we've all been there. We've all been there again.
But I'm so grateful that my mom had
for sure.
I am lucky that I had a place to go back to. I am grateful that even if it wasn't the best, I had a place to go back to because not everybody did. And I don't know, just being in one of the worst places, like mentally places of my life, I go online and I see a friend of mine, old friend who wasn't really a friend back then. We were just kind of like acquaintances. Hey, does anybody know how to run like a Power Rangers D&D game? Like we're just all kind of really sad and need something fun. And I'm like, I play D&D. I've run this.
Dungeons and Dragons. Pete.
Yes, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a super nerd. I love tabletop games. I love board games, but mostly like RPGs like this because they bring people to a table where you have to talk with each other and connect. And I'm so tired of screens. Yes, I'm ancient in my body. My knees are 87.
Oh. Can I pause you real quick?
Yes.
Are you a Xennial?
No.
So you were born in what year?
90.
Okay, 90.
Okay,
we didn't touch on that. Sorry. Okay, so back to the Dark Ages.
But I belong in the Xennial culture because 100%. I don't like new stuff. Like I grew up on
my don't either, obviously.
But my mom, but like the best. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. The best movies stopped at the 90s. The best music, I feel like, stopped at the 90s. Like we had all the great stuff. Like the 90s is like when time should have froze.
Yeah.
But
for some of us, it did.
Enjoy your porcelain skin. Can I be you when I grow up? Enjoy your porcelain skin. I wish.
Okay. Sorry.
No, so Dark Ages.
Yes.
He asked this thing. Yes. I said, yes, I'll run it for you. He said, wonderful. I said, find players. I don't have the energy to find that. I'll write it, improv it, whatever, get it done for you. Because I just love improv anyway. So I was like, we'll do it. So I have to meet with each of the players individually. And one of the players was Amanda.
Yeah.
And so we talked for And it was at a time where I was like trying to figure out my mind, and I was an irresponsible I was like not a great guy.
Young.
Well, it wasn't even actively being a heartless person. It was just like I hadn't learned the growing pains of like how to look outside of oneself at the cause of like, what are you doing to the world because you're trying to feel better, right? Because we don't always see that. Sometimes when you're trying to heal, you forget that the world is also reacting to that like behavior. So we meet. We're supposed to talk about her character. We talk about her character for like 30 minutes. Okay. And then we're like on a like spiritual journey. I exaggerated that. We're not going to tell you the amount of time. And then I exaggerated the journey. But then we talked for, what was it? It was like 3 hours. Yeah, like it was like 3 hours just talking about life and spiritual. And even then we weren't, it was a very like, hey, I don't want to date you. I'm not going to date you. Like, that's not going to be a thing. I'm not a guy. I don't want that right now. I want to become a better man. Exactly. I was like, I just want to be a better guy. Let me fix my. So I think I even said the line, "Don't fall in love with me."
Yeah.
Just don't.
Stop it.
I was trying to be so cool. Because at that point I had already been like, oh, I like this person, but I'm not supposed to. And then she was like, don't worry, I won't. And it was like not even a minute. It was like such a quick reaction. And I was like, that's good. That's good. At least we could be friends. And then like, just naturally, we were both in a bad spot. And I'm from New York. I live in closets. And I like looked at this room my mom had for me. I'm like, this is way too big. Like, I don't need all this room. And I'm like, hey, if you want to just hang out, go read over that. You could do whatever you want. You don't have to stay where you're at in, the swamps of Florida. Like, you're fine. And so over time, just naturally, one day I like playing a video game. I go like, I love you. And my face, deer in the headlights. I'm like, where did that ADHD betrayed me that day? It betrayed me that day. It was a thought process that should have never come out. And she's like, I love you too. And then I turn back and I like look at my screen. I'm like, and we're just gonna keep going. We're gonna act like that wasn't even a thing.
Oh my gosh. So y'all came together because of Power Rangers and role-playing games. And then your love was professed over video games.
Yeah.
I love this.
The nerd trifecta. Yeah.
Now that I know you both, like that is so fitting. Like Katie and I do not have as cool stories with our partners.
No.
And we don't, yeah.
You're like, where's the magic?
Like I know yours and you know mine, and it's like, it's not, we love them, they're amazing, but like story is not great. So anyway, love that story. So excited. And I will say, if y'all ever, like, I love to make people feel awkward here because like I said to Patrick and Dina about kids, I was like, you don't have kids yet. And they're like, whoa. If you ever decide to get married, y'all need to have a Power Rangers wedding.
We've talked about it.
Yeah. I am also an ordained minister, just so you know. I am.
She can marry you right now.
Hey, that's one job you don't have yet.
I'm in my notes app to do. Get ordained.
I need to be ordained. Anyway, okay, so I love that love story, but we want to know, like, you kind of touched on it a little bit. We need you to elaborate on who your favorite Ranger is and why.
Yes.
This is such a tough question, and Carlos and I talk about this all the time.
I know.
Because it's season-based. Everybody, every season you're like, that's my color right there. This season, I'm silver. But for me, it's Tommy, Jason David Frank.
Okay.
Not just because he had all the cool stuff, which is literally why everybody loved him. He had all the cool stuff. But it was because, like, the point of what his character continued and was able to wield different colors of Rangers. Like, he was the Black Ranger in Dino Thunder, which arguably could have been one of the greatest seasons, because what most people don't know about Power Rangers is it changed hands frequently during a time span, a couple like 10 years ago. Like, it went from I'm right here. Oh, is it not picking me up?
The levels of the mics.
Oh, is it not picking me up?
Well, turn around and look how loud mine is
compared to yours. I love it. I was
like sorry, listeners. I was trying to get Katie's eye and it didn't work. So I'm just
no, you're fine.
I'm the worst.
I was listening while we like.
I know. I'm sorry.
Wow, she's just here to. I'm just hurt. Oh my God. No, you're fine.
I'm just here to learn.
But it went from I believe it went from Bandai. It was Saban Bandai Hasbro.
Oh.
I believe it's Hasbro. It went from one to Disney to Nickelodeon back to the originals owner. So it jumped from thing to thing to thing. And the voice of Ranger stayed the same through almost all of that. Like, that is a feat in its own. That, yeah, like even changing hands, the formula stayed the same. Like, Jason David Frank came back in Zeo, right? He continued through Zeo, through Turbo, but then came back in Dino Thunder when they were like, okay, we've tried some new stuff. We think you need to come back as like the mentor. And it just had this opportunity to be such a beautiful season because of that legacy. He, to me, represents legacy to the show. Rangers that come back and pass the torch. It's the superhero moment. It's the moment everybody wishes. It's the leader of everything, broken helmet, beaten down, whatever, looking at the young kid in the crowd and going like, next is your turn. Like, I don't always have to be the one doing this, but I'll always be here for you if you need me to teach you something.
Aww.
And so every season has a anniversary special. So almost every season of Rangers has an episode where they're like, okay, where's the special going to be and who's coming back for it?
I love that they do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do too. When Carlos was first explaining to us after those first original seasons how it changes every season, I was kind of like, huh. And of course, like cynically, I was like, right, because they just don't want to like pay actors, whatever. But like, the more I think about it, and you explaining it like that, and how then everyone can have their own season, like the season that they own, that they like, that's more likely when you're constantly switching up the stories and the people and what they look like and what their abilities are, rather than a show that's run for 30 years. Right. That's obviously wouldn't have the exact same cast, but basically the same cast. So I think I'm warming up to the idea. I didn't like it at first. Not that anyone cares or that I'm haters of Power Rangers.
Oh. Hey, listen, like it. They're one of our tens of listeners.
They are.
Telling you.
We very much agree. I missed the original cast. I loved the original cast. I think they did such an injustice because the way that they explain when a Ranger leaves the team is like, we're going to the Geneva Peace Convention. And then they're like, you're in high school. You're not going to no peace convention.
I love that.
And we will talk about how the comic book rectifies a lot of the issues of the show. But legacy, it's legacy. Jason David Frank. So there was an aside real quick. There was a fan made a adult version of Power Rangers. Like, what if it was like an action movie with explosions?
I thought you were like Bound Chicka Wow Wow.
No, but you know what the most?
You know what
the messed up part about it was? Themes of that were in there, and so James Vanderbeek was Jason. He was in this. He was in the fan film as an evil Jason. Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, and she was in Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah.
She was in it as well as Kimberly, and the effects were so cool, and like everything was awesome, but it didn't take off. I think they had a lawsuit thing going on, and it mattered.
I keep talking.
Yeah.
I pulled up the picture for Katie. She loves James Vanderbeek.
Handsome.
I'm like breathing into this microphone. I apologize.
Breathing's okay.
But it's it was too dark because
it looks very dark. Like I'm looking at the pictures.
It was super dark. They made it for the adults, and they were like to Jason David Frank, "Oh, why weren't you in it?" And he's like, I didn't want to be.
Oh.
He's like, Rangers is supposed to be one thing.
Oh.
A show that can tie generations together. Like, as a father who grew up with Rangers, you can show Rangers to your kids and they will have their Rangers and you guys can talk about Rangers together. And that's the point of Rangers. It's supposed to be that the kids coming up have their Rangers. It doesn't take away anything from us.
Right.
Like, because our Rangers show up in those series to lead the team or to help them in their time of need or to when the younger kids are like, I don't know what to do. One of the OGs will come up and be like, you're doing a great job.
Aw. So he didn't participate because he was like, that's not us.
It's made for one group. It's not made for everybody. And Rangers is supposed to be for everyone. It's what I told Carlos and that he said, anyone can be a Ranger. Right. Anyone, even the newer season are adopting these beautiful themes. Like we had our first LGBTQ couple in the Netflix series that just happened.
Love that.
And it's like one of the best exciting things. We had our technically third, most people don't know this, technically third female leader Red Ranger.
Okay.
For the first time, like Jen Scott in Time Force was the first time it happened that the Pink Ranger stepped into the lead position and everybody was like, what? And it was one of the best seasons you could ever watch. It was peak Rangers at one point. And then we get Nickelodeon who gets their hands in it and they make Samurai and they're like, oh, okay, it's just another team of, but then you see the Red Ranger and you're like, this Red Ranger isn't very good at his job. And then you find out halfway through the season, he was never meant to be the leader. His sister was. She was just away for a bit. And she is such an epic character. Like, all of the Ranger ladies who lead the teams are much cooler than most of the dudes.
I mean, put women in power. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, every day I'm going to bring this.
It's like, I feel like I signed on for propaganda. I'm confused. Mom, can you pick me up? Yeah. Yeah.
You said it. Put women in power. But it's even in Power Rangers.
But it's true and like beautiful to watch. Yeah. Beautiful leaders, beautiful like theming. Rangers has always explored like inclusivity in its own way. Like through the years, every show adds a new theme for the next kids coming up to feel seen. That's the point. Like guys being like, why is there never like a guy in a Pink Ranger suit? Well, the comic book addresses all of this stuff.
Okay.
And so, yeah, like
Generation. So let's talk about the comic book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just like Generations, the comic book was remade for us. So there is a kid-friendlier version of Rangers called Go-Go. That's the genre of Rangers for
not Go-Go Power Rangers. It's just Go-Go.
I think it's called Go-Go Power Rangers, but that was mostly focused on the first 5 and Happy Times. So this is Boom Comics Power Rangers. This is like when Tommy joins the team. So the reason this fixes a lot is because Tommy doesn't just jump into I'm the leader now. Like it's a natural progression of Jason, who is the guy that is Captain America. And now this dude who's kind of an outsider, like has post-traumatic stress because he's being haunted by Rita's like presence.
Look, like this. Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
yeah. There's like a picture of him like holding his helmet very
so they're all trying to talk to him and he's like, would you be quiet? And then he goes, what? Like over here, because he's dealing with the after effects of what he's done. And so he has to live through that. You have to watch him live through that. You have to watch somebody who doesn't want to be a leader and goes, I am the strongest and I know I can punch the biggest guy. But then when Jason leaves, he's like, how do I do this?
So these comics are like a deeper of Tommy's story.
These comics are deeper of all of their stories. Okay, they're all fully fleshed out humans in the comics, where in the show
more detail than so it's like when you want more of a character, you're like, I want to know why they're doing that or how. That's what these do.
Yes, and the stories, they shore up a lot of the weaknesses of the show. Like we get a male Pink Ranger, male presenting Pink Ranger, and it's really cool. Short-lived, but cool. But then we get a couple of deaths in this, and it happens. But what's great is they gave honor to the characters that we thought they dishonored in the show. So Zach, Jason, and Trini, when they go to the Geneva Peace Convention, you find out in the comics, they were actually recruited to the next level of being a Ranger. So like if you were cops before, you're like, you want to join the FBI? Because they become galactic Rangers. They become the Omega Rangers.
So they have a glow up.
But they have to lie to everybody, even the old team, to do it.
Oh, that sucks. That would be so sucky to be like, now I get this really cool job, but I can't tell anybody.
Right.
I would be like, I'm not taking it then. I can't brag.
He actually would do that.
I love it.
Like, oh, I can't tell anyone? Forget it.
I can't keep secrets.
Wait, no bragging rights? I can't make a poster?
I just can't keep secrets. Like, I literally knew nothing about Troy's job ever because he was in the military. And, like, he was not supposed to tell your spouse stuff, but usually they do. Sorry, everybody. It happens. He never told me anything because I can't keep secrets. So if y'all ever try and kidnap me to find out national secrets, I don't know any.
I love that aside is like, she definitely knows. She definitely knows.
Cover.
I know. Okay, so I'm noticing though that is that an autograph on one?
Yeah. So when I went to Comic-Con, and I got that first book, the artist was there, which, by the way, thank you to the artist for giving me the signature for free, which you weren't supposed to. They didn't know, and we just had a bit of an issue, but it was fine. They were super sweet about it, and it was so cool because it was my first convention, like big one, and just like my first thing I got was a comic book signed, and I was like, this is the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome.
That's neat.
Because Rangers is such a joy. And, I work at a coffee shop. I'm a barista. I have a young customer who comes in and she is wonderful. I will find that out. I believe she is wonderful. And she's in love with Rangers. So she came in, we started talking about Rangers, and we just talked. And we just bonded, and her mom is so sweet, and they're just the sweetest people ever. They went to a Ranger stop, a little convention where we were, and then the day of, they come in and they go like, hey, we're not going to use these passes anymore, and you love Power Rangers. Do you want them? And I was like, yeah. So we drive over and we meet some of our childhood heroes. And it was just this random thing because we had bonded over Rangers over time. Mm-hmm. And that's what it does. It brings people like of every walk of life. You're all heroes. Even if you don't know each other, you're all a team. Yeah. So make it work. Because every color represents something. Like pink is the heart of the team. If you look, usually the Pink Ranger is the one that's their conscious, like the heart of the team. These things have changed and these tropes have evolved over each season. But that's what's beautiful about Rangers, that in your friend group, you see who's who.
Who is what Ranger.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What Rangers would we be?
I don't know enough yet.
Neither. I just like pink.
Yeah, I think you are pink though. You're pink. You're 100% pink. I think you're yellow.
I'd say maybe yellow.
Okay,
that's what I was thinking.
What do they do? I don't know.
Yellow's like if you know anything about Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings, they're the rogue. They're the like very fast multi-hit
rogue.
They're usually the person that can square up with multiple people. That's how they've like designed them in the tabletop. It's designed that way, and it's very much that way in a lot of.
I love that.
Okay.
Well,
maybe those are our Halloween costumes.
Done.
We need to go to like 6 Halloween parties at this point.
This is
I'm
great.
just gonna have 6. Sorry, honey.
That's true. Good night.
Bad guy.
You should be Madam Woe.
Oh, now see, I'm like, I need to know all these costumes.
Does she sing?
Oh, done. That's Katie.
That's it.
It's great.
Does she sing?
She said it, Madam Whoa. Oh, that's like, does she sing? She does.
Okay, so I was going to ask you like why you thought Power Rangers have such a strong fandom, but you just answered it. Like you just answered the question.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting because Carla said pretty much the same thing in different words. Mm-hmm. And again, that brings us back to the beginning where that's why Katie and I love to have super fans on because I feel like it's very easy to dismiss people and like things that they really like that you may think is silly or trivial. Once you really talk to people and you hear like it makes sense. Like everything, like I get it. Like hearing more about like the colors meaning things and like every season has a different leader and other things. I'm like, I get it. Like, and it makes sense that it's like a generational thing. But you did said you were going to try and stump us with trivia, and I'm scared to even ask.
Oh, I did not prepare the trivia because I was so like stressed out about all the details. I'm like, I have to know everything.
It's like he hasn't said anything yet, so I'm just not going to bring it up.
I want to touch on 2 more things. If that's okay. Just 2 more things.
Anything.
So first, just to make sure I've got it right, because the generational thing is important.
Yes.
But the reason it's important is because it's always tied to the original. So like when Disney and Nickelodeon had Rangers, they pumped out like Rangers RPM, Dino Thunder, all that stuff, and none of them were connected. They would show up in each other's show, but there was no through line.
Okay.
Slowly, they started incorporating a multiverse because of the grid, the morphing grid, which is like in all of Rangers, it's always talked about, is this spirituality. It's this unseen thing that tethers all of us. It is this energy that connects everybody. So when a Ranger goes down, they return to the morphing grid. So the grid is talked about in season after season after season. And then slowly, as you watch the seasons, they slowly break down the walls of this multiverse easier and easier, where you're like, now Rangers are intermingling, because in the comic book, they did a big event. And it wasn't just because of the comic book. They were always doing this kind of like callback, Rangers coming in from other times, but then they finally explained, well, how is Mighty Morphin in this futuristic world? Yeah. This makes no sense. time jumping and multiverse jumping. That's what they do. Because they had their Endgame Infinity War in the comic book where all the Rangers from every season all banded together. And it was amazing. And they did that. And that matters because Carlos talked about this, and in space, we have one of the, spoiler alert, we have one of the greatest things that happens in Rangers, because as Rangers aged up with us, they were slowly aging up the show to teach us things.
Yeah, I like that.
And so at the end of In Space, we get something pretty horrific, but also pretty profound. Andros, I believe Andros, the leader of the team, had to make the ultimate choice. He had to sacrifice Zordon, who is the big floating head in the tube. He was, so think of it this way, like your father figure, because that's what he was for most of these like Rangers. Your father figure, you have to stand there and go, the kindest human in the galaxy, I have to destroy them because they need to release that positive energy to counteract all the negative that's happening in that season. So we have this grand sacrifice that all the way now to the Netflix series that has come up, this whole series is tethered to that one. So Carlos mentioned the Once and Always special where all the OGs came back. That OG series is tied to the Netflix series because we have those Rangers show up with the new team to help them learn. And Zordon and all that gets mentioned. And the greatest villain of all, Zed, Rita's husband.
We didn't talk about that. I didn't know Rita had a husband.
Oh, yeah. Rita, she married up. She booed up to the greatest evil in the galaxy. He looks like a big old brain. His name is Zed.
Zed.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's all red.
Don't worry.
Lord Zed is pure evil. And so he comes back many times in some of the series. He's always mentioned as one of the greatest evils. So he comes back in the new Netflix series to cause problems.
Okay.
And so the old team has to rely on the new team, and they have to work together with the Morphing Masters, who are a thing that they've mentioned from the Morphing Grid, to stop this great evil, which is why the Netflix series is designed as like the last one.
Oh, do you think it really is?
I think for this arc it is, unless the deals go through on a different way, because Netflix was like, we're going to give the fans their hurrah, their goodbye. We're going to wrap up this whole thing because then we're going to make our own epic series. It's all serious and awesome and whatever. And then that deal fell through, so that's not happening. But this series was designed as the finale because it brought back the old Mighty Morphin Power Rangers storyline all the way through every season. So it tied everything together.
So it was like closure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. So the Zordon, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
That guy. After Space, he's not on the show anymore?
No, he in Space is his like goodbye because it needs to happen. And so it's like teaching kids that what it was teaching us was you're adults now, and not every choice is going to be easy, but as long as you're doing it for the right reason, then it's okay. Because there was no hate there. Nobody hated what happened. Right. We were all like, we're all in tears, little kids, just like, I mean, Rangers taught me English. Like it was like a thing. Wow. Yeah, like when I was a kid, like my mom, we only spoke Spanish in the house. So I'm like watching American TV and I'm watching Power Rangers and I'm learning English from the show. And I'm like 3, you know? Wow. So I'm like sitting here, like it was just everything. It was just so important. That's in like amazing. Learning things, learning kind of like who I wish I could be, like certain things like that. And like, it's funny, like we said, you carry that stuff with you through life. Like even as the person that I am now, Rangers is so important. Yeah. Because the tagline, once a Ranger, always a Ranger, it really is once a hero. Like you don't ever stop doing the right thing. Just do the right thing. And it's not always going to be easy. You know?
Yeah.
Deep thoughts.
I have to say, I've had a total revelation learning all these things about Power Rangers in the 2 episodes. Not that I was ever like I think people should like what they like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Care less. Not that I was ever like, oh, Power Rangers. But I was also just like, like how deep could it be?
Yeah.
And that's okay too when people like things that aren't deep. But now I feel like no, it's pretty deep, and there's all these layers, and people be like learning English from it, and like Carlos saying, you know, he loved all the colors, and just how it's so foundational to, and so many different reasons that people like it. It's a lot deeper than I thought.
I know.
Yeah.
That happens a lot here. We're always like, la, 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 slip and slides. Actually.
But that's the whole point. Like, your podcast does such a good job of like, why does it matter to you? Like, what, and so many people don't ask that. So many people nowadays are they're their brand.
Right.
And so they have this like facade, and it's like, well, who are you at home? Like, in your jammy jams, like, what do you do? Yeah, we all eat ice cream, but what do you do? You know? And so it's that. I absolutely, I could never quit Rangers. I love it way too much. It is joy.
You will never have to.
Right.
Declaring it
today
right now.
On Generation
You will
in
never
Between.
have to quit Rangers.
It will live.
Okay, you said you had 2 things you wanted to make sure you told us. What was the other one?
So it's that one, and I just ADHD'd all over this. Just spaced.
You have your notes. Take time. Take a breath.
I do.
We have to look at our notes all the time, and I mess them up every episode. Oh, Madam Woke.
Madam Woke.
Oh, yes. Great design, too.
Madam, is it WO? WOE. I almost spelled it like Joey Lawrence. Whoa, like WO.
Madam WHOA.
That's what I almost did. See, I messed everything up.
No, I mean,
ew.
That makes sense too.
Actually, though, yeah, do it.
I'm scared. Ooh.
Oh, Bobby's eyes got big back there too.
Bobby, what do we think?
Bobby approves.
Yeah. Okay. Wait till she starts singing.
I'm
behind that mask.
I would play the sound, but my sound on my laptop doesn't work.
It's okay. Let's not. It'll end up breaking all the sound somehow. So let's just rock
facts.
the boat.
Us and sound listeners, we try.
I think I found it. Okay.
Yay.
First off, don't try to flip. Once you watch the show, you're going to want to flip. Don't try to flip.
I am 43. If I haven't flipped by now, it ain't happening.
Oh, your body will want to once you watch the show. Don't do it.
Well, I saw a meme the other day that said, if I'm ever drinking with you and I tell you I can do a backflip, hold me down because no the fuck I can't. And I said, ooh, I think I've said that before.
And I will try.
We need to just start adding the E to these episodes because I keep forgetting not to curse. Every episode it happens.
I've worked so hard to try to not to.
So hard.
I think I've done great. I've worked so hard to. I curse like a sailor. I curse like a sailor in real life. It's so difficult.
So
Self-control.
I know.
I love it. The curtain.
Like, I'm glad my kids are older now because now I don't have to I mean, I don't like to just drop F-bombs in front of children, but now that my oldest is about to be 18, I don't care in front of him. Mm-hmm. Cooper, I try to get it together, and then we come see a show at Katie's studio. I was like, oh, whatever. Okay.
If we've got any Trail to Oregon fans, not Oregon Trail the game. Well, that's
it is based,
too,
yeah.
But the Star Kids musical we're doing here.
Oh, it's
and there's
great.
A lot of F-bombs and S and all sorts of things.
Oh, it's an amazing show, everyone. I can't believe we didn't bring it up last week so local peeps could have come. Oh, well, we're sorry.
We sold out.
Oh,
it's kid friendly.
It's not. It's teen friendly.
It's teen friendly.
It's teen friendly. Unless you're me and you just bring your 11-year-old because you're like, whatever.
Erin came last night. She's 12. And she didn't even sit by me because I was up. So it's just this kid sitting in there.
And Tegan's 9. She was here.
Tegan
whatever.
Was here. It's fine.
We're 80s parents, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. Tegan was singing
a
song from the show at home. It Pays to Be an Animal, that one. But not the part.
Oh. We'll tell you the
Dude, your face was like, wait, what? Like, you were ready for the tea, like, wait, what?
The chorus and then stopped before the part.
We'll tell you the song after.
Good. Yeah, we'll sing it for you.
We'll save that for you. So don't do flips.
Don't. Carlos had a flip story and ate it. I have a flip story and ate it so hard. Like, I have a gap here where my teeth are.
Then. We need your flip story.
So... Okay, so Tommy had just come out. And so, they're like, hey, it's a Green Ranger. He's going to help us. He's our friend. This dude walks into their Zord without permission, just walks right in. Door opens. And he goes, yeah, screw this. It just blows it up. Just punches them all out of their own car.
Wow.
Just get out. And then he wrecks all 5 of them. But it was this when he was standing on top of it and did this epic flip. And of course the camera angle is exaggerated. Yeah. So I'm just I want to jump like that. And so I tried to jump like that. And my face has never kissed tile so hard. I get up and start crying and no one's home.
So you cracked a tooth?
this tooth was black. There was blood everywhere. I was like upstairs in my room crying. And then my mom gets home and I'm like sitting there with my mouth jacked up. And she's like, what happened? And I go, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. I just wanted to be a Power. And she's like, oh, honey. And she like picks me up because it was the most pathetic thing she had ever have to see. It was the most, it barred the, there was one time she chased me through the house because I had said something I was not supposed to say. I was a little kid. And she said, go to your room. And I said, no.
No, sir. Nuh-uh.
And I said the beat, and I just said it.
Called your mother?
Oh, I was like a little jerk. Like I thought I was a little jerk. Yeah, I learned that exact. See that? The mom energy.
If my child ever called me that to my face, because I'm fairly certain there's times they probably do it behind my back. If I ever, I will snatch you so fast. I feel like
there's a chancleta flying at me from somewhere. Like somewhere through the air, it's gonna hit me. Like my mom can smell it. She's like, he said something.
We do. I used to tell my kids, like I said, I brought you into this world. I can take you out.
Yeah.
Listen, I've never hit my children. I'm just saying, I will give you a look of death.
I will look at you angrily. So I say this thing because I was so frustrated, and then I saw how mad she got, and I'm sitting here in whitey tighties, right? And I'm like thinking I'm so strong, and so I run to my room as fast as possible, shut the door, pick up this like foam chair, not realizing as a child that if I could lift this, I'm such a man as I lift this chair and put it on the door, grab this like bubble sword with like power. It's like the Green Ranger, like it was like this bubble sword. And I was like shaking, holding it aimed at the door. She like comes in, she's like, Mijo, opens the door with a slam. And I have never seen so fast the door fly open and her just crumple laughing at the pathetic sight of this child in whitey tighties, thinking he's so strong, in shock that this chair that he lifted like it was nothing got moved like nothing. He's like, how did that not work? It works in the movies all the time. It was just, she could not fathom the spectacle of the absurdity of this.
Power Rangers made you believe you could stop a mom coming to get you for calling her name.
It made me believe I was immortal, and I learned very quickly that I am not.
A Puerto Rican mom will put you in your place.
She just, it was so funny because she forgot about it, and that's where I learned that laughter is a really good weapon to like not get in trouble.
It is so true.
Like if I keep mom laughing, I'm not going to get in trouble.
Cooper does that a lot.
Yes, remember kids.
I could see that.
Develop a sense of humor and use it against everyone.
Yeah.
But no, it's
life lessons with Alexey. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a chicken soup book.
Oh, that's a Xennial throwback. I had so many of those.
Those were great.
They
were good. And like the rhymes and poems were the weakest thing in the world sometimes. But we're like, how profound. You felt like
I'm so deep.
You're like on the bleachers at school, just like with your book, you're like, I'm so freaking smart. And the book is Chicken Soup for the Teen Soul. And you're just like, you're like, if I read my book and write a pencil, life will find a way. Oh my God, who wrote that? Just bangers. Bars!
It's like all the spinoffs. Supposed to be a Chicken Soup for Power Ranger fan soul.
Oh, probably.
Or Power Ranger soul. There were Runner's soul, Mother's soul. Yeah. That was a good idea, whoever came up with
I know.
That. Well, we might have
I think we will.
Reread some.
What is it?
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh wait, what are we saying?
It was the
I missed my own cue.
I love the because you're like, why were there so many of them? Capitalism. Because the rhymes got weaker as they went. Like
they did.
Oh man, memories, deep cuts.
So do we have any more?
I think
are we good?
I have touched base. I didn't touch base on certain Rangers, but they don't actually like matter right now to use. It's not that they don't matter. It's that so like
out there Rangers.
In Lost Galaxy, after In Space, when Zordon's era ended, so In Space was the ending of like the Zordon era. They tried to get really gritty with Lost Galaxy, and we had a big Ranger death in it. The Pink Ranger died because the actress was diagnosed with cancer, and so she was going through chemo. And then the coolest part is they were like, oh, let's bring in the sister from In Space that was the villain. Now she gets to be a Ranger. And it was a cool twist. But then the actress survived, and then they had her later come in as like a ghost, like a force ghost, kind of.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
she came back, so they honored her still, which I'm like, these are cool things that people don't talk about. That the show, sure, it's a production nightmare if you're on it. Oh, it's poorly
but that's okay.
poorly run.
I don't care. I like campy and that kind of stuff doesn't bother me.
But Hunter Deno, who we met, the Amelia, who's in the latest Netflix season, who's the Red Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. Like such a spectacular human. She's phenomenal. Deserves everything she's ever gotten. She said it best. She's like, yeah, production nightmare, but whatever. You know, we were talking because I was telling her like, oh yeah, it's probably a production nightmare. But she said one thing that was so important, that the message is really the most important thing about the show. Yeah. And that's what all of them said. All of them were like, yeah, we're here because at the end of the day, the message is amazing. Like Rangers is an amazing thing.
Yeah. They really believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you will, like you do too, if you watch it, you're like, oh, I get it. It's silly. It's campy. I get it. But it's something that's for me. It's something that's mine.
Yeah. I like that.
My team.
And I'm looking behind you. Did you bring a show and tell?
I brought several morphers.
Ooh, we're going to look at those guys. We'll have pictures on the
Yes, because the thing about America, capitalism, is that if you look at the American show and you look at the Japanese show, what they use is the actual toys that they sell.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
This is the Japanese morpher instead of the American one for a certain season. And the quality is so good that it does everything that it did in the show. And if you put whatever Ranger batteries in that show, they use batteries in the gun.
Love.
It'll call out in Japanese that Ranger. If you fuse certain batteries, it will call out that attack from the show.
Cool.
But in America,
really cool.
But in America, they didn't have that. They made it this simple one saying thing.
Lame.
But because America likes to cut corners.
I was going to say, we like the easy way.
Yeah, but they did make these really beautiful morphers. So yes, I brought morphers.
We're gonna take pictures. Don't worry,
because those changed over the years. The morph changes. It's not always it's morphin time with dinosaurs.
Oh.
Sometimes it's 3, 5, 5. Oh yeah. Like in space, it was like because they didn't have dinosaurs
singing like 1, 3, 5, 3, 1.
But they didn't have dinosaurs in that one. They had like hoverboards and spaceships because they were in space, and so they would like open their little communicator that looked like a BlackBerry, and they'd be like 3, 5, 5, 6. He's like, let's rock it, and it was like this cool like, or like they would like Wild Fury had like a flip phone, and they were like, wild access, and it's like this great kind of like they all have a
access.
They would flip the phone and go wild access, or
start answering the phone like that. Wild access.
Like the morphs are the best part of Rangers, and you can see where they started to try to like save time because the OG morph was like this roll call, and now we sometimes get a roll call, but most of the time we get it's morphin time, and then like fire will like engulf them, and then they'll just be in their suit.
Well, that's also cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I remember the OG. Like I remember the OG Power Rangers, and they like said their names right. It was like it's morphin time. They'd be like whoever.
They would say like
I don't know.
It was Mastodon, Saber-Tooth Tiger. Yeah,
I remember that.
And so that stayed for a little bit. Like in Zeo, they were like, because they were numbers and they were crystals. So they'd be like Zeo Ranger 5, Zeo Ranger 4, like
that's a mouthful.
That's fun.
Yeah. Or like Turbo, shift into Turbo. And then they would like crank this like shifting gear on their wrist and would just transform. I'm like, weakest season ever made. Got it.
Shift into Turbo. I'm going to say that when I'm driving home.
There's like, it's Time Force. Like there's so many different ones and they were all fun. I love... That was
Unleash the Beast.
If only the season was better. But yeah, like, I mean, morphers are great. The morph evolved. I just love that the show has evolved to a certain point and then like everything realized what works and doesn't work and has brought back what really mattered.
That's really neat. Is there anything you want to ask him? Katie looks concerned.
No,
you okay?
Sorry. It's just about the show, so I'm just answering
Katie's 15
question.
Jobs always.
No, I think we've covered most of all of it.
I love
I'm sure like I'll after Carlos was here, I was thinking about it. And,
I know. We had so many other things we wanted to ask.
Yeah. No, nothing else.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yay! No, I'm so happy. Yeah, I told him, I'm like, I'm not going on Zoom.
Look,
I will try.
A live studio audience today.
Yes.
It's pretty fun.
I know.
It was really fun.
It is. If you would like to sit in when we record, let us know because this is fun. Well, maybe, I don't know. If you're going to be rowdy, you can't come. So we have enough sound problems.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
It's like the mic. We have to hang it this way. It's like we have to close the door.
Yeah. Hold it right here. Well, it's been awesome to have you. And he's going to stick around for our after show. So if you are a patron, you can check out what we're going to talk about there and all of our patron episodes and listen to Generation in Between. Continue to listen. I meant to say review us, share us.
Oh, yeah.
All those things.
We'll do that.
Tell your friends, which you guys already do.
I know.
The people in the room here. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we have no catchphrase. Is there a catchphrase you want to leave us with from Power Rangers?
Oh, a catchphrase? Ooh.
What's your favorite call out that y'all just did?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Always.
We're ready.
May the power protect you.
Yes.
Ooh, love it.
Love it. Thanks, guys. See y'all next time.
Bye.